jokes.
Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
We've got a show for you. Did we have a show last week? Yeah, we did. Didn't we? What were we talking about? I don't even remember. But this...
we talked
we've
about
got
Skeleton
quite a show.
Crew. We talked about Lower Decks. We had a good show last week.
Stuff.
Yes.
We're going to cover a bunch of stuff, which will culminate in Barry talking about his trip to Skywalker Ranch and its various...
subsidiaries. Yes, we can talk about
subsidiaries and what he can talk about.
The ranch and Lucasfilm. We've got some good stuff that we can talk about with Lucasfilm, and I can post pictures after of that stuff. So we'll get to that.
So that's cool. Yeah. So we'll get to that, but that's fun. Todd has something to talk about. I got something to talk about. We got all kinds of good stuff. Let's go a quick random. Todd, what do you got?
Okay, so you know how in every superhero comic, the first time two heroes come together, it's like obligatory that they have a fight. You know, they have the misunderstanding and then they have the fight. Well, and then they get over it.
Wait, your mother's Martha?
Exactly.
Let's be best friends.
Exactly. Okay. Well, apparently, when two superheroes get together and they have a one-night stand, okay, they'll get over that and just it won't be referenced again also because they have come out and said that in Daredevil Born Again, there will be no reference to the events of She-Hulk or Spider-Man Far From Home. So apparently in canon, he will still have had a one-night stand with Jennifer Walter, and he will still have been Peter Parker's lawyer, but it's not mentioned in the story at all. I find that okay.
Unless She-Hulk is going to show up in the show, it doesn't need to be referenced.
I kind of prefer that, like, she's not like constantly like texting him and he's ignoring it or something like that. I think it's just they're giving each other some space. So
it's not me.
You should have
you.
like a quick.
It's not you. It's
a quick shot with like he looks at his phone. And it's like missed text. Missed text.
It's like, but no, they're green. They're all green, coming up green. So, but yeah. So apparently that's not a thing. And they said that they've kind of selectively decided what they would acknowledge and what they would ignore. But the other thing too is this thing has been in production for a really, really long time. And I personally am glad we've seen him integrated into the larger MCU. And I enjoyed both those other appearances. I was extremely excited to see those. So I am totally fine with this. Jennifer, reach out to me, babe, if you need to talk. It's okay. It's Anyways, so Barry, what do you got?
I got nothing. Dave, what do you got?
Oh, that's right. I guess I knew that. Yes. Okay.
I did tell you that in advance.
You did. Okay. I'm on a lot of cold medication. I'm just going to get that out there right now. So, Dave, what do you got?
I have several Disney rumors. I'm just going to say them, and then we'll maybe see if we want to talk about it. Henry Cavill may be in Star Wars.
Yes.
That's a rumor.
In Star Wars? I hadn't heard.
That I just saw. Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows? The Russo brothers may be in control of the X-Men reboot. That could be exciting.
I would be okay with that.
Jared Leto may be up for a superhero role in Marvel. Despite what happened with Morbius. I mean, I don't know.
And the Joker. He was also the Joker.
Yeah, but that was like 2 seconds. I don't think Henry Cavill needs to be necessarily in Star Wars. I think it's fine, if it's the right thing. But
well, listen, if they're putting potentially putting Ryan Gosling in Star Wars, then okay.
Will we ever even see another Star Wars movie? Jared Leto, I don't know. What could he be? I don't even know. I don't know what his deal is. He's kind of
cover him in makeup. He's a decent actor. Cover him in makeup. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
but there's
want
also
like
been. I don't think the Morbius thing matters at all. There's
No,
multiple
I don't think so
people that
either.
have been multiple roles in the either the Marvel universe or the parallel Marvel universes. So yeah, it's I don't think that's really a factor. Josh Brolin,
Superhero, they say
yeah,
though.
but Josh Brolin has been in two different sides.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac, a number of people. So it's just but
I'm fine. But the Russo brothers controlling X-Men.
and apparently Robert Downey Jr. So yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Not to me. Someone was saying, and this I didn't even have written down, that Chris Evans could be like Captain Hydra from a alternate. That we just don't. I don't think we need to see.
I think we've seen the only alternate version of Chris Evans we're going to see. I really do. I think I don't think. I think they're going to de-age him, or they're going to do something like that, or just use him old. But
I hope so.
Yeah.
It can't be something. Speaking of all that stuff, which I don't really have anything. So there's been a lot of. I'm seeing a ton of ads for Captain America. There's a lot of stories about him. What do you guys think? I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but I'm excited to see it. I can't. It's actually 2 weeks? Is it 2 weeks away?
Yeah. I am eager to see it. I will say I'm kind of like. I'm a little anxious. I will say I'm a little anxious.
I'm a little cautious.
Yeah, I'm.
If it's bad, it's going to be a freaking disaster.
If it's going to be bad, it's like, how do they pull out of this? I mean, I truly hope this is an extremely good film.
I feel like there's a lot riding on this.
Yeah.
I mean, Wolverine and what's his face, Deadpool and Wolverine gave him a little bit of
a lot
cover.
I mean, that proved
it
that
did
they
so
could
well,
do cool stuff. But it was also very reverent and very different than this. This is back into the mainstream MCU.
That's what I'm saying. If this is mainstream,
yeah. I did watch the new thing that came out today, and it's a.
I've been watching the TV spots on YouTube.
It's a
or
funny exchange between Sam and Thunderbolt Ross, where he says, you tried to destroy the Avengers, and he said, well, I've changed since then. And it's like, and that's both a play on he is a different actor, and he's now Red Hulk. So,
well, they're showing his wingman guy in a couple of clips, which is good. I just really wonder if my two biggest things are, does he get superpowers, and does he lose the wings?
I don't see how he doesn't get super soldier serum. And like I said, my prediction, the fact that they're dragging the Carl Lumley character back into this, I think he's going to get a transfusion from him or something like that. I
guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I haven't even really been thinking about it. You're right; it is coming up quick, and I've got to start thinking about when I'm going to go see it and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, it comes out in February, and like, it's like February's next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It could be a very disappointing Valentine's date for many wives.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with it's better. I'm going to go it's 7 or better.
It's got honestly, to me, it's got to be an 8.
It's got to. I'm saying I'm predicting
not saying
7 or
I
better,
really think.
and that's above average right now for a Marvel film.
It's got to be like, wow, this is the best Marvel film I've seen since, in a long time, other than Deadpool.
Or
that's
Guardians.
what it has to kind of be.
We'll see.
So anyway,
you said it best. There's a lot riding on it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and again, I don't really, again, putting Deadpool aside, I feel like they're spending a ton on marketing that I don't know that they always did as much. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, they've got to get people excited again. I think people aren't excited, and they need to get them excited again.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the East, it's freaking cold, and that, you know, it's unseasonably cold here. I don't know what's going to be like in 2 weeks. I mean, God, there's much worse going on, obviously, than a stupid movie, but the second biggest market in the country is out of commission for them, you know, almost, right? L.A., it's tough out there, and our thoughts still go out to everyone who's dealing with all the aftermath of all that. For sure, but, you know, that's a toughie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Everything you're saying is spot on. It's got to. This movie needs to get people re-excited, and I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but nothing I've seen has made me go, "Oh my God!" I've said it before. I'm almost more excited for Thunderbolts than I am for this movie. Just based on trailers.
I am definitely more excited for Thunderbolts in this movie. But
the Red Hulk at all, so I'm curious how that works itself out.
Yeah.
Look, nobody loves Harrison Ford more than me, so like put him in a movie like this, I should be excited for that.
I don't know, Barry. I think Callista Flockhart probably loves Harrison Ford.
No, I would challenge her on that.
Okay.
He's my Tom Cruise.
Yeah, well, okay. Yep.
No, I'm just messing.
That's a whole there's a whole show there.
Yeah.
And nothing against Harrison Ford, but do you love Harrison Ford, or you just love the characters he plays?
The characters he plays are Harrison Ford. Okay.
Well, exactly. Unlike Tom Cruise.
Do you love
I was just going to say,
man, Dave, or do you love the characters
there are
he
few
plays?
actors who are
Tom Cruise as a human being is freaking out there.
Okay, but
with his stunts.
I'm saying I think there is a Tom Cruise character. And then there's Tom Cruise. I think there's a lot less of a line between Harrison Ford and Harrison Ford's characters.
Harrison Ford is the guy on Shrinking, and maybe once in a while he'll put a fedora on. That's about it.
Exactly. Yep. So
I just saw him in a kilt. Right. Did you see that? He's doing
I saw that as
some
well.
Advertisement for liquor.
What are you doing that for?
Yep.
Like that you need to do? So, Todd, what else you got?
Okay. So there's a movie that came out this past weekend that I am going to argue on Paramount that I'm going to argue is misnamed. Okay, Section 31, long-awaited fulfilling of a promise, first to do a series, and then it was going to be a movie. I think this should have been Section 8, which is the old military designation for a mentally unfit discharge. Because this movie is effing crazy. We'll talk.
Barry, you didn't see it, did you?
No, after Todd's text about it, I don't know that I even want to watch it.
I mean, I'll see it, but
you guys got to see it because we got to talk about it. But I stopped halfway through and I was just like, "What am I watching?" And then I went back.
And you shouldn't have told me how bad it was, because you know how it is with you especially. You're like, if you tell me it's bad, why are you going to make me watch it? Now you've told me it's bad, but now you're telling me I have to watch it.
I finished it. I devoted 2 hours of my life to it because I've seen every minute of Star Trek, and this, I am utterly baffled that somewhere, as I said to you guys, somewhere there's a room full of people that thought this was a good idea, and.
Did they see that after she won that Oscar for that wacky piece of shit movie, that let's make it wacky like that?
Honestly, there's so few Star Trek references in this. It seems like this is the movie, if Guardians of the Galaxy had come out in 1978, this is the movie somebody would have released in 1980 to rip it off. Okay? It's that kind of thing.
Oh, sounds great.
Yep.
I'll watch it. I mean, I'm not. I didn't care before, and I don't care now. But I'll at some point I'll watch it.
I'm in no rush to watch it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what I'm in a rush to do? Check out Fanboy Collectibles.
Woo.
Let's Exo-6 Valeria.
Fulfilling the promise
in her best role.
That they will go deep on.
They
characters
will go deep.
And movies, and
Yeah,
That's
they're
deep.
teasing the maroon monster that we will eventually see in Kirk and Spock. But her best role since Mannequin or Mannequin 2. No, she was in Mannequin, I think. Interesting. Some different companies. There's a Hono Toys Spider-Man in his homemade outfit. Does anyone have anything from Hono Toys? We've heard of them.
Yeah, I have stuff from Hono Toys.
Yeah.
Yep. They're very good.
And then
very, very good.
Asmuth's, is that the same people who make the Lord of the Rings figures?
They make
They're
the Lord of the
making a
Rings
Snake
figures.
Plissken.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
This
making a
looks
Snake
really
Plissken
interesting.
It really does.
Real wool hair.
Real wool hair.
It's real
and
hair.
also 2 sets of arms. So they've got seamless arms and then jointed arms.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, that looks cool. I have a snake from, I think, Sideshow, but this
I
one
think
looks
Sideshow
awesome.
made
So-
one years ago, but this one looks way better than that one.
Yeah, it looks way better. And it says real hair, and I thought it was a typo, and movable eyeball. I'm like, oh, he's only got one eye. Yeah, of course, only one would move.
The other one moves. It's just you can't see it.
Yeah. But yeah, they got that stuff. They got Sideshow and Hot Toys and Pops and everything you
And
need.
if you
They
missed
really
out
have
your
everything you
chance to pre-order a Deadpool, there are extra ones in stock. Because
need. There's extra Deadpools.
I bought one today. So
They're just. I have one sitting in a box. Right
yeah,
over there.
I didn't
It
order.
just
I
showed
didn't
up
order
today.
it, and I should have. And he's got them in stock, and it's going to be a hot figure. So
I got to give Hot Toys credit. They really moved quick with that figure.
that's the
And
thing
they're
that it blows me
capitalizing-
away. This is a movie that came out in July. We've waited 3 years for some figures. So I think they're smart about this.
Yeah, those are in stock. So, and they're gonna go, and that it's got a lot of stuff.
Please
in
get
it,
me
so
my Wolverine
check that
soon,
out.
Hot Toys.
Yeah. So, if you want a Deadpool, I guarantee there's Deadpools on eBay for like double the price. Here's you getting one at retail. So check that out. Anyway, check those guys out. FanboyCollectibles.com. Check them out at their store in Newtown, Connecticut, and tell them the Regular Joe sent you. Okay, so we each have a topic we're going to talk about. Not that this was planned this way, but just different things. So Todd went and saw something last week in his local theater, and let's hear about it.
So I went.
Or let's hear a little about the theater,
Yeah.
too.
So I, when we recently did our 55 films you should see before you die, or when you come out of the deep freeze, I started thinking
Or
about
as
it.
Brian said, his favorite movies because he didn't follow the
because he didn't really follow the
assignment,
guidelines. So I started thinking about how many movies I think I've seen that I've really only seen on TV, and that maybe these are, you know, I what's in my head is a very cut up version from TV that's edited for time or whatever. So the opportunity came up last week to see the 1933 King Kong on the big screen at my local theater, which is a very cool thing. While not exactly configured the same way it was, this film played at this theater in 1933.
That's what's awesome.
So
That's crazy.
Theater
Yeah.
is still in the same space. It's like I said, it's been subdivided now, but still very cool seeing this thing in glorious black and white with this ridiculously long like intro music, like interlude at the beginning. It is a very different film when it's, you know, on a huge screen in front of you. I remember reading how, like, when people first saw this, because nothing like this had ever been in a theater, there were people who got out and, like, screamed and ran away, okay, when the monster came on, when Kong came on screen. And, you know, it's very rough stop motion by today's standards, but things like the fight with the dinosaurs and stuff like that, you watch that on a regular TV and it's really, really lost. But when you see that spread out, you know, on a huge screen in front of you, it's pretty amazing. And I'm just, like I said, it was a really neat opportunity to get to see this. And when things come up like this around you, you should definitely take advantage of it, because it was as close as you could get to having the experience that the original, you know, the first people who saw this had. And again, this isn't a tremendously groundbreaking film. I mean, it created an entire genre of film, and was like I said, was obviously left a huge footprint. So Yeah, that was my thing last week.
Was it projected on film?
Yeah.
You know, or
Yes. Yep.
it was. Yeah, because a lot of theaters don't even do
No,
that.
they still have
anymore.
they still have a film library, and they have they have film projectors. So
That's cool. So, but it's funny. You may not even know, but if you check in your local neighborhood, there may be sort of an art house place. I have one in. I have two actually near me, and I'm like not really any. I'm not even talking about New York City. That's an hour away, but Bedford Playhouse does stuff like that. Jacob Burns Film Center, and then I have an Alamo. If you have an Alamo Draft House, they're always playing things. They'll do 70 millimeter things. They'll do 35. They'll do all kinds of stuff. So take advantage of that. It's really cool to see. I've been really tried to see movies on the big screen that I hadn't. I've seen a lot of them, originally, but like when Blade Runner came out and when Ghostbusters came around again, I tried to take Mark to see. There's certain films that you get to go see on a real screen. That's really awesome.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
You talk about groundbreaking, and this segues us maybe into our next discussion, but I just texted you guys a picture. There's a huge statue in the offices of Lucasfilm of, I think it's Willis O'Brien animating the Kong puppet. Like, that's in the lobby of Lucasfilm. That's not, they're like right up front saying, hey, this is.
I think all those people who've worked on from the first Star Wars probably through now are all just huge influences.
Oh my God, yeah. And I've met thankfully I've been able to meet a few of these guys, and they talk about King Kong the way we talk about Star Wars. That's just like, that was their thing.
Yeah.
That's what got them all interested in doing what they did.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It's cool. But before we get that, I got a thing I want to talk about. So I don't know. I used to be in advertising. I'm not anymore. I've kind of semi-retired from business because thankfully I was able to. And it sucks. But I am starting a business, as you've heard over the past. We're doing this 13 years. I just changed the header of our bio sites. It used to say 10 years and going. Now it says since 2013 or whatever it is. 12 years we're doing it. So it's been a long time. But anyway, so I've been making a lot of things, but I'm doing it more and more for clients as opposed to myself and these guys. So I want to direct you to, this is another sponsored segment, to FromDavesWorkshop.com. I just built a whole new website. It's got a lot of the displays. I'm basically building prop displays and custom plaques for stuff. So check it out. It's got a bunch of my work on there. It's got you can contact me to do stuff. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. From Dave's Workshop, both of those. So I'd appreciate follows on there. I literally just launched those all this week. The website I've been working on for about a month, but I just turned it live this week. And then the Facebook and Instagram were just live the other day as you listen to this. So we've only got a handful of followers, but please follow. Check out my stuff. If you've got some kind of project you want to talk about, contact me. There's contact information. Dave from Dave's Workshop at gmail.com. There's a phone number. You can text me any way you want to get in contact with me. Appreciate it.
But even Dave, with just getting started officially, you've been doing commissions for a while, and you've got customers going already, right?
Yes, yeah. I've been doing stuff for a while. I've got a couple customers I'm working on. One great, awesome dude who I'm doing a ton of stuff for. I won't mention his name. I don't know if he wants to be mentioned, but he runs a prop web Facebook group that's got a big following. So he's got me doing a bunch of stuff. But yeah,
so we're talking plaques. We're talking plaques, display plaques, and
plaques and displays like full blown. You want to display. I'll probably put a link. I've done a bunch of different stuff. It's all on my website. I've done weapons. I've made custom props to go with things. So there's all kinds of stuff in there. So Check it out. I do want to give a shout out to a friend of the show, Eben the Collector, who, as soon as I started posting, he is forwarding, he's putting it on his stories, asking people to follow me. A couple people so far within the last day or so have started following me, so I thank you. He's awesome about, getting the word out. So, thank
He's
you.
always
And
been
if you
super
should
supportive of us.
Yeah, he has
and
super
the show,
us.
and it's great to see that he's doing the same with you. And we love Evan.
Yeah,
He's
and
great.
he's doing the same for me. But he's got an awesome collection, and he's super into Star Wars. But check him out on Instagram, Eben the Collector, and he hosts a show on YouTube Friday nights called the Spice Runners Lounge that they talk all things Star Wars. It's Friday nights on YouTube. They do a live show. So thank you, Evan, and I really appreciate it. And I got to be honest with you. The thing, I love the building. I even enjoyed building the website. But you got to promote yourself. And, now I was in sales for 33 years. I'm like, I don't want to do sales. But you got to sell yourself.
gotta.
That's
Yeah,
the
you
problem.
do.
And I do need a social media intern because Facebook's got posts and reels and stories,
Yeah.
and I think I posted the same thing 3 times yesterday because I didn't realize it wasn't a reel or I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew this stuff, but you really got to be diligent with posting. It's a pain in the ass, but I am trying to post a project I've done at least, and I've been doing some live. I just did something today about my laser cutter. I did something yesterday about this aliens project I'm working on. So I'm going to try to do something every day. It's part of the process, but
No, there's definitely a lot to it, but I think that the short-term goal is if you can get some word of mouth going and have people
That's
help
exactly-
spread the word,
yeah.
then that'll really, bring
Yeah.
more people to your page and to your site and to your as
Yeah, that's
customers.
exactly-
And I got to say, as I look around my office here, I've got at least a dozen things that the display bases are yours, or the related plaques are yours, and stuff like that. And it's some of the most impressive stuff I've got. And it even when this was a hobby for you, it looked super, super professional, and often more so than things I bought. So I think people are going to really, really
I
like this
appreciate
stuff.
that.
So
thank you.
Yeah, I was looking
Yeah,
the
I
other
really
day
enjoy it.
at the Sandman gun display bases that you made with the light up
Yep.
crystal in them, and I'm like, that
Yeah.
is
That
amazing.
and that was before I had any real tools. I look at mine and I'm like, boy, it's an acrylic holder. I'm like, boy, I can cut that. Before I had a laser cutter, I'm like, I got to remake that. But I appreciate that. Yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I definitely want to do something now that I'm finally out of the office work. And I know we've talked about it privately with our retired friends. Not that I'm retired, but I am more busy than I was working. I think thankfully I've had some commission work. I'm working on a couple of my own projects, but it's all day long and Saturdays and Sundays, but it's enjoyable.
But it's fun, right? I mean, that's my career goal is to be able to do that too someday.
Yeah, I enjoy the making so much. Hey, advertising was good to me, and it paid for this house and those props and a couple cars and retirement fund. But I'm done with that.
Yep.
So I'm just glad to be doing something much more creative, and I appreciate if anyone wants to reach out or just even discuss something. Happy to brainstorm with you.
And if you're listening to this show, you have friends that collect as well, and make sure that they know about what Dave's doing, and that they may have beyond yourself, you may have a
and
circle
definitely,
of people.
like I said, if you're into props and even prop replicas and things like that, and we talk about the mom test on a prop when you get something that if you have to explain what it is, this is a really good way of getting around that. When you can have a plaque that says what it is and where it comes from, and very inexpensively, but it's a unique thing for you that Dave can make for you. It's just really cool. It really makes it pop and just kind of takes it from looking like a thing that you picked up and set in your shelf to being like a museum piece, and makes all the difference.
The other thing I would say even if you're not collecting high-end real movie props, even something like a decent toy hand phaser looks so much better on a display
Oh yeah,
stand
but
than it does just
you
sitting
think
on a
about
shelf.
what people spend on their Disney park saber collections, and things like that. So there's a lot of
Yeah, we could do any of that. I mean, it's I list it as prop displays and plaques, but certainly replicas. On my website, I've got some replica stuff that I've made, so it runs the gamut of things. I mean, I've been doing a lot of real prop displays in acrylic cases and stuff, and that's the meat of what I want to do. But I'm definitely doing plaques on their own. I'll do replica stuff. Let's talk about it. Check me out. I was going to say fanboycollectibles.com. Check out fanboycollectibles.com, but also check out fromdavesworkshop.com. I really wanted Dave's Workshop, but there's like a dozen of them. But anything you get from me comes from Dave's Workshop. And on the website, there's even pictures of me in my workshop. Nice. So, thank you. I'll probably mention that in a bunch of shows. I'll pay us back in commission. Well, you guys have been getting.
I was just going to say, I think we owe you a little bit already.
The free stuff, so that's why I'm going to be doing it on the show. But thanks, and just check me out. Thank you. Okay, so we teased it. Barry went to Skywalker Ranch and Lucasfilm a couple weeks ago.
Yep,
and he saw a lot of cool stuff. And
you want to hear about it?
Interestingly enough, you can talk about it, whereas the last trips you really couldn't talk about it.
Well, some stuff I can and some stuff I can't, and I'll dance around that.
Yeah.
But I just want to start by saying I'm only going to say it up front now because my inclination will be to constantly keep apologizing for the fact that I have gotten to do this and I get to do this. And so I'll just start out by saying in my wildest dreams, I never thought I would ever get to go there once, let alone now 3 times. But it's incredible. And not to make it sound even worse, but I've stayed at the ranch 19 nights now, total. That's insane to me.
So Barry, you're saying
you could stay there.
Barry, you're saying it doesn't get old, is what you're saying?
No, it doesn't. And I've been in the archives doing research with Regal Robot for 9 days total. Like, that's just crazy to me that I've gotten to do that. And I totally appreciate that I've had the opportunity. And I certainly hope none of it comes off like bragging because that's not it. But I do want to share the experience with you guys and the listeners.
Share the experience is not bragging. It's okay. When a bird flies, does it brag that it can fly to a squirrel? No.
No. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So this was the longest trip I've had out there yet. We were there, I think, 9 or 10 days. It was crazy. We left on a Friday, came back on a Saturday. But so I'll just give you sort of the whole rundown. And so we got in on Friday, Saturday. We got to spend a few hours with Phil Tippett at his house. Always incredible, the stories that he can tell and just sort of being in his presence. And I'll post pictures. Phil does this thing where when a camera comes out, he puts on his angry face, so he always looks like he's not having fun in pictures.
Oh, is that it? Okay, I actually thought you were holding him hostage.
He seems scary.
He does seem scary in pictures, but he's kind of not.
Kind of not.
We had a pizza party at his house, and we sat around in his living room, and he pulled out the laptop, and he was showing us stuff that he's interested in, and he's picking up the remote and turning on YouTube, and he showed us 2 things I wanted to mention on the show because I thought that they were really interesting. He's very into AI and AI filmmaking right now. There's a movie on YouTube called Terror Above the Sunset Strip. Check it out because it's an example of some of the best AI filmmaking that's been done so far. And then he wanted to show us a colorized version of the 1911 Dante's Inferno movie. And he pulled that up on YouTube. And it is messed up. So I would just say, I had never seen it before. If you've never seen it, it's worth just even watching a few minutes and scrolling through it. But this was what the day was like. He was like, oh, you haven't seen this. Let me show you this. It was really cool. So we left Phil's house and we went to San Anselmo, California. They have a little park called the Imagination Park, and they've got a bronze Yoda statue there, the same one that they have at Lucasfilm. And they also have a bronze Indiana Jones statue there. And apparently, I didn't know this, but after American Graffiti, George Lucas moved to San Anselmo, and that was the town he lived in when he came up with the ideas for Star Wars and Indiana Jones. So they've created this park, and there's this little fountain area, and they've got these two statues there commemorating that. What's interesting is that there's a plaque that says something along the lines of Star Wars was invented here in 1973 and Indiana Jones was invented here in 1974. So they're saying that the ideas for those movies go that far back.
Yep.
Which, it was just cool. I had it in my head when I heard park. I'm thinking it's like a big park. It was basically like a really quaint town with one storefront not there, and that was the park. So it wasn't like a huge thing, but it was still kind of cool. So that was our Saturday. Sunday, we spent the day with John Berg, who I've talked about before. Lucasfilm guy, worked on Empire and Jedi and done amazing things. Not going to say anything more about that. John's amazing. We had an amazing time hanging out with him. Monday, we spent our first day in the archives. I will sum up the archives for the purposes of this conversation today. We were there for 4 days on this trip. I was helping the Regal Robot guys do research. I took a lot of pictures. We looked at a lot of unbelievable things that I'm not really supposed to talk about. Suffice it to say, on this trip, if it is in the archives, I got to see it. And there was a lot more sort of just looking at stuff this time than I've done in the past. Not everything's there anymore because, George Lucas is building his museum, and a lot of stuff is in the process of being boxed up and moved. So I've definitely noticed over the 3 times I'm there are certain things that I remember seeing that I'm not seeing there anymore. But that just means that it's being prepped for the museum. So not going to talk a whole bunch more about the archive other than just to say I wish everybody could get to go there, but hopefully when George builds his museum, we'll all be able to see the cool things that I saw. That night, we went out to dinner with Don Bees and Steve Sansweet. Don Bees, for those that don't know, has worked at Lucasfilm. He worked on the special editions all the way through the prequels, Model Maker, special effects. He also worked on Pirates of the Caribbean, Starship Troopers, Mission Impossible 3, Galaxy Quest. And he was the guy that was in charge of, if you needed droids at your event and you worked through Lucasfilm to get droids to be at your event, he was the guy that brought the droids there, and he was the guy that drove the R2-D2 and remote controlled it. And he told me that for years, when R2-D2 showed up at one of these events, it was the Empire Strikes Back remote control R2-D2 that they were still using.
Really?
All those years later, yeah. And even though the droid builders had built like more sophisticated droids, when Lucasfilm showed up with R2, it was the Empire remote R2, which I thought was really wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He told me some great stories, none of which I'm going to share, but he, really, really nice guy. I had not met Don before. And Steve Sansweet, as everybody knows, is Steve Sansweet, and he's great. I was sitting at the opposite end of the table, so I really didn't talk to Steve all that much, but it was great to see him. Tuesday, we went to Lucasfilm, and here's where the bulk of what I want to talk about is, because we got to see 2 really cool things. One was we went on a tour of Lucasfilm, and I got to do that once before, but we were not allowed to take pictures, and we weren't allowed to talk about it. This time, don't know why, but we were allowed to take pictures, and I am allowed to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of the cool things I saw there, and then I want to talk about something else that went on at Lucasfilm that we'll get to. All right, so what did we see at Lucasfilm? They've got a ton of stuff on display. I think last week I mentioned the Skeleton Crew display that they had, which was costumes and props and the model of the Onyx Cinder and all this really cool stuff. So I won't rehash that. I think we posted pictures of that on Instagram last week. But as you walk around the halls of Lucasfilm, you see a ton of George Lucas's movie posters are on display all over the place. And his bulk of his movie poster collection that I saw are like foreign versions of like movies that you would know. Like there's a foreign Lawrence of Arabia poster, a foreign King Kong poster. He's got, some of them are gigantic posters. So I don't have any pictures of those, but the movie poster collection is amazing. But once you get past that, there are props and models on display from not just Star Wars and Indy, but a lot of things that ILM's worked on. So some of the things that we got to see, let's see, where's my list? They actually have, where's my list? Here we go. So they had a Rebel transport from Rogue One. One of the things that people sat on and they drove around on to get to like where the X-Wings were. Full-size Rebel transport.
Full size?
Yeah, full size. That was a set piece from Rogue One. Was just like you turn a corner and it's just sitting there. Pretty wild. They have the Razor Crest model.
I'm looking at a picture of it.
Yes.
That's crazy.
They have the Razor Crest model and the whole motion control rig that John Knoll built in his garage.
That's what's awesome.
Yeah, the whole thing is
there a picture of that in here? Barry sent us pictures ahead of time that he'll probably post. But
yeah, I'll definitely post pictures. They had a Rocketeer stop motion puppet from when they were doing the visual effects of the Rocketeer flying, and they also had next to it the armature, the metal armature that's inside the puppet, which I thought was really cool. We turned another corner, and they had the model of the ship from Ahsoka's ship. It's really very large model, and if you've seen any of the behind the scenes videos, the whole thing when it's on its control rig, the whole thing rotates, and it's a really really cool model. There's a whole section of licensee products when you turn around one corner, and it's this big area where they have some of the best collectibles that all the different licensees put
I was going to ask you about that because I'm looking at that because she sent us these pictures. I'm like, wait, I'm like, okay, I've seen that there's some Hot Toys, there's stuff, but then there's like a clapper from Rogue One in there. So I'm like, is this all maquettes? Is it real stuff? I think there's a bunch of Regal Robot stuff in there.
That's all, yeah.
Right?
I'm not sure where that clapper fits into the equation, but it's all licensed.
But that's
stuff.
all sort of licensed stuff.
Yeah, and some of it's brand new, and some of it's been around for a while. What was really funny, obviously I'm there with Tom Spina and Regal Robot, and there's a life-size Chewbacca bust that he's made, and he looked at it and he was like, can I get up there and adjust the hair? So he gets up and he's like fluffing it a little bit and you know, making sure it looks as good as it can look, which was really cool.
Even the way they do displays is better than normal people do.
Oh, God,
you know?
Yeah.
It looks like this was custom made to fit each of these things.
Each item, yeah.
It's not from IKEA, I don't think.
No, it's definitely not an IKEA bookcase.
There's a Lego thing there. I have those Star Wars bookends. There's some helmets and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool.
They do a great job there. All their displays are amazing.
We should. Then
you turn another corner, and they have the actual front door from the original ILM building, the Kerner optical
that's
door.
Awesome.
That's just hanging on a wall. Then you turn right past that. They've got 3 of the stop motion or motion control heads for the little Babu Freak characters from Rise of Skywalker. That were working on C-3PO. Those were really cool. They've got you go down a hallway, and then they've got the full-size blimp from Last Crusade, the Nazi blimp.
That's
hanging,
that's awesome.
And it's huge. It's probably, I had to guess, it's probably 15 feet long. It's gigantic.
Is it that long? You can't tell from the picture.
Yeah,
they have Dave Mandel's book that he made on Ralph McQuarrie in there too.
Yeah.
I wonder if Dave put it there himself.
That blimp was huge.
That's 15 feet long? Jeez Louise.
It's got to be 12 to 15 feet long.
If you would ask me, I would say, it's probably 3 feet long. That's cool.
I may have a picture where there's somebody in the frame. I probably cropped them out, but yeah. So if I have that, I'll send it to you so you can get the scale. But it's
That's
big.
Awesome.
One of the big items that they have on display, which I don't know if I can even do it justice, but it's a giant optical printer that was used on Star Wars, all 3 original Star Wars movies, plus a million other like incredible movies like The 10 Commandments, North by Northwest, all 3 Indy movies, all 3 Back to the Future movies, 4 Star Trek movies. List goes on and on. But it's
so it was ILM acquired that from somebody else.
ILM acquired it, and I wish I could remember, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but they said when they took ownership of it, it had a reel of film in it, and I want to say it was Lawrence of Arabia. But it was some movie
really?
like on that scale that they're like, oh yeah, the reel of film in it was this famous movie when they got it.
Yeah, Howard Anderson, it says it's called the Howard Anderson optical printer. Now, Howard Anderson was doing special effects like way, way back.
Yeah. So they use this on some of the biggest movies of how many of the movies from our top 55 list went through that machine?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. It was really cool that they had that there. They've got some actual hoverboards from Back to the Future 2. They've got a Marty one, and they've got the Pitbull hanging on the wall. They've got a T-Rex from Jurassic Park, not like a life-size one, but one of the stop-motion miniatures. But really cool, they also have that armature rig that Phil Tippett and team used to input the motion for the animation. They had that kind of right next to the T-Rex, and then they also had one of the crushed cars that were used in some of the footage for Jurassic Park. Like, it's well represented, all the different big movies that ILM's worked on there. One of my favorite sections is in this big stairwell. They've got the full-size models for the Galaxy Quest ship, the NSTE Protector, and then they've got the Thermian alien ship. And these things are gigantic. I mean, it's really hard to even in the picture that we'll post and the pictures I gave you guys, it's hard to get a sense of scale. Those things are hanging in a stairwell, like a big stairwell. And they take up a lot of space. And then right behind those is a giant saucer from the Enterprise A from one of the movies with battle damage on it. Like, that might have been my favorite nook in the whole tour. There was an E.T., a torso of E.T., that an original E.T. torso. And maybe my favorite thing in the whole display was the display case.
You've said that 3 times.
Original Willow props.
You're allowed.
Yes, there's a Willow section on the tour. So,
which is shocking to me.
They had a whole case with the Willow wand and helmets and props and a sword.
And they're begging George Lucas, please take this to your museum.
So anyway, like, it was pretty amazing. While I think I mentioned this last week, but while we were there, when we went to the Lucasfilm employee store, which is right next to the cafeteria, we saw Doug Chang sitting at one of the tables eating, which was like really cool. And then towards the end of the day, we're in an elevator going from one floor to the next, and John Knoll gets on the elevator, and it's like, holy crap, that's John Knoll. So it was really cool, like, running into some of those people. But so the other thing I wanted to mention, so going back to my very first trip out there back in 2023.
Wait, are you shifting gears from
I'm shifting
tour
gears
pictures?
from the Lucasfilm tour to this other thing.
Can I ask you a question before you do?
Yes.
Next to that optical printer is a piece of the Death Star trench. Is that real, or is that...
That is built by ILM artists, but not original from the movie.
That's actually pretty cool.
It's really cool. And that Millennium Falcon that's in that display was also... It's a really well-built Falcon model and painted by ILM artists, but not from the movie.
How would you like to have that in your freaking living room?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
It's
a model of the trench run that's built into a wooden crate that says Kerner Optical Company on the side of it, which is really cool. All right, so first time I went out there, and I went with the Regal Robot crew, the main reason we went to ILM was because they had meetings scheduled. The Lucasfilm ILM team wanted to build like a themed room in the building that they could use that would be Star Wars themed. And they wanted the Regal Robot team to help them with it. So it was really more of a brainstorming thing. And then when I went back in January of last year, we went there for a follow-up meeting where now they had decided to move the project forward, and they started talking about how they were going to build it and what it was going to look like. And then when we got to go this January, we got to see the room finished. And it's really
I can't believe
cool.
It was... we knew nothing about this. You didn't even mention this to us.
I didn't tell you about it because I didn't think I was supposed to.
That's fine. But... they built that room since the last time you were there. It's crazy. You're allowed to talk about this now?
They said I can. So, yeah. So
it's crazy.
It's called the Secret Rebel Hideout. The entrance to it is in the hallway. You don't see it. There's a giant propaganda... and I didn't take a picture of this. There's a giant Imperial propaganda poster on the wall. That's, join the Empire. And then it says something like, the rebellion is closer than you think. And that thing slides out of the way to reveal the Secret Rebel Hideout. It's really cool. So half the stuff in that room are real set pieces and props from Star Wars Productions, and half of it was created just for that room, fabricated.
It looks like it looks like the room with the big glass board in the first Star Wars.
Wow.
It's like, what's their purpose of this room?
So that's
just for fun.
It's a room for them to have relatively small gatherings in. It's got a kitchen at one end with a refrigerator and a sink
and blue milk.
It's got so much ILM magic in there because there's sound effects going all the time. It sounds like you're on a space cruiser when you're in there. The speaker system that they put in there is insane. Like, they've got lighting effects in there. They've got tricks that they've built into the room that if you hit certain switches certain ways, like the light colors of the lights change, or they've got different effects going. There's a console in there from the Millennium Falcon from Solo. It's the actual console from like the cargo hold. And they built what they call the Fonzie trick into that, where if you hit switches a certain way, you hear the whole engine shut down, and if you bang it on the side, it turns it back on. Like, they built a motion sensor into the side of it. And they were telling us, like, you know, they got a lot, like, apparently there's an electronics club at ILM, and this was all done
electronics club
mostly from people in their spare time and working, like, after hours and whatever.
The fact that they let them do that, it's just, I'm like, when I was looking at the pictures, I'm like, I thought this was something that, like, some crazy guy built in his basement.
No, it's on their campus, and so they're going to use it for gatherings and meetings and small parties. And I think that they were saying that because it came out as well as it did, if ILM people are going to be interviewed, they're going to interview them in that room, so that that's the backdrop for the interview. The room is insane, and the coolest thing for me was I got to sit in on an initial concept meeting for it. I got to sit in on a planning meeting. And now a year later, I go back and the thing is finished.
I can't believe that it's been built to this degree in the amount of time that you're talking about.
And Regal Robot actually sent a couple of their guys out there to help with the installation, and they did a bunch of some of the pieces were designed by Regal, and some of the installation was done by them, and some of the painting on site was done by them. So that's why I got to be there, because I was there with Tom and his team. So
what's that chair from? That looks like a chair from.
That chair is the pilot chair from the Hammerhead Corvette in Rogue One that pushes the two Star Destroyers together.
Oh, jeez.
And that table, that weird-looking table, is the Bogaboo Frick's table from Rise of Skywalker, where they were working on C-3PO. Yeah, that room is insane.
It's really crazy.
We were shocked. We said to the guy, "Is it okay if we take pictures?" Like, "Oh yeah, go ahead." It's like, "Okay, we'll take pictures then."
Like, how big is it? Like, how many people could you fit in there if you're, like, having a party or something?
20.
Okay.
Comfortably 20. Any more than that, it might get a little crowded. But there's a bunch of seating in there, you know. They've got stools. That Millennium Falcon console, they've turned it into a bit of a bar. Like, they added a glass front to it, and there's stools in front of it. And then, like, one of those big orange crates from Rogue One, they cut it in half and made a bench out of it. So, like, they did some really creative things in there. And I'll post pictures so people can see it. But it was a highlight for me of the trip, honestly, seeing that and getting to hang out in there. We were probably in there for about an hour. It was really cool.
It's cool. It's like something someone would have in their basement, but the real guys built it.
That's exactly what it is. Like, and you really, unless somebody tells you, you can't tell what was fabricated just for that room and what came off of a set, which was wild. But one other thing I should mention while we were on the tour, there was some computer-looking console thing, and I asked the guy that was showing us around, I'm like, well, what's that from? Because I recognized everything else that I'd seen, and his response to me was, you haven't seen that yet. So I don't know what it was from, but it was kind of cool. So
what could it be from?
I'm thinking Andor Season 2. That's my guess, but nobody told me that.
That makes sense.
But that was my guess, because I don't think anything else that I haven't seen is in that far into production, or unless it was from Mando and Grogu, but I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
So anyway, after that, we went to the Lucasfilm employee store, and I spent a stupid amount of money, but that's fun. And then that night, we went to dinner with Tony McVeigh. Tony McVeigh sculpted, worked at Lucasfilm back in the day, sculpted a lot of the creatures for Return of the Jedi, and still does work for them all the way up through current. He's the one that did the original maquette for Grogu, and so he's still involved with them. And he's super great guy.
Cool.
We had gone to his shop the first trip I went on out there, so getting to see him again was great. Spent all day in the archives on Wednesday. Spent all day in the archives on Thursday. Thursday night we went to dinner with a guy named Dave Carson, who artist and a sculptor and a model maker. He worked on Return of the Jedi, but he's also been like a visual effects supervisor on Jurassic Park and Dragon Slayer and Star Trek 3 and Goonies and Titanic and Joe versus the Volcano for our friend Brian.
Oh, really? There
and
you go.
Willow for me. So, and again, like every one of these guys, I say the same thing, but it couldn't have been nicer. Super, super cool guy. And I'd never met him before. It was great to meet him and great to hang out with. And then Friday we spent all day in the archives, and then Saturday we came home. So that was my trip to California. It was awesome. I mean, it was a really long trip. I didn't mention really we stayed at the inn on the ranch, which is incredible. Can't really post pictures of that. It's beautiful there. It's like the nicest bed and breakfast that you can't book, even if you want to. So, every room in the inn is themed after a different director. Rob and Tom stayed in a double. That was the John Ford room, which every night we hung out in there and we had a fire going in the fireplace. And it was awesome. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Just awesome.
Cool. It sounds awesome. I mean, those pictures, I only looked at them the other day, and that's just this. I mean, the story is awesome on its own, but those pictures really, bring it to life. So,
well, and I wouldn't even have wanted to talk about this on the show if they wouldn't have said it was okay to take pictures and post them. Because to just be here talking about it and not being able to say to people listening, now go to our social media and check out the pictures, it's kind of anticlimactic, but.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, obviously, I don't think we're going to post 75 pictures, but
no. I'll curate down.
I'll curate them down, but
yeah, I'll post a couple pictures of the Secret Rebel hideout, and then I'll post a couple of pictures from the tour.
Yeah, those would be awesome because there's really cool stuff there. Awesome. Well,
I wish it was open
for
everybody to see it.
Fans' dream, and you're living it.
So I'll take that.
Like Sheldon and Leonard, who got thrown into the Skywalker jail.
Exactly. And I, not going to name names, but I have heard a story about a guy who just showed up there and tried to get in and ended up getting arrested. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the way it should be. Don't just show up.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's literally on the map. I mean, you could find it if you wanted to.
Well, it's a very nondescript gate, right? There's no sign that says Skywalker Ranch here, right? But we kind of, I've been there 3 times. These guys have been there a lot more than that. They're still excited and they still fanboy out every time we pull up and the gate opens and we're like, holy crap, we get to go in. Like, it's just wild. So
that's awesome.
That's my story.
That's a good story.
Awesome.
Let's go. What's in the box?
Show you with the box. Who's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Regular Joe's What's in the Box.
Barry, what's in the box?
I'll show you what came in the box just yesterday. It's my Hallmark Christmas ornament of the Galaxy Quest ship. Keeping in theme with what I was just talking about. The craziest part of this story is it was literally December 26th. I ordered this and one other ornament from Hallmark.
You said it on the show.
Right.
Or to us, one or the other.
I know I mentioned it to you guys, and it was half off or whatever. And I realized last week, hey, I never got the ornaments I ordered. It's been a month. So I reached out to Hallmark, and the response I got back was, we're very sorry. The items you ordered are no longer available. We're crediting your credit card back. And the next day, they showed up. So now I got them for free. But
that's a big ornament.
It is a big ornament, but it's very light. It doesn't have electronics or anything, so it's not going to weigh the branch.
It is amazing how much that looks like a frog when you hold it from certain angles.
Yeah, it is. It is, but I just love it. I've always loved this ship, and I always love that NTE's number stands for Not the Enterprise. That's just one of my favorite things about Galaxy Quest. So that's it. Todd,
that's cool.
What's in the box?
Awesome. So this is a solid block of resin in the shape of a phaser from Picard. It's very cool. It's
it looks pretty. The
they
paint
did a good job. I mean, there's different.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Like the paint's flat when it should be flat, and it's satin when it should be satin. Some of the lines are a little little rough, but it's cool. And again, like I said, it's a neat phaser design. I got to say, it kind of fits good in my human hand, and it's flat in the bottom, so it stands up without a base perfectly. So I got this. I ordered this through AliExpress, which every once in a while I will dare to order something. And
I've not done that.
No,
I've ordered watches,
and
from
it
them.
takes
knockoff watches.
It takes like 3+ weeks for stuff to show up, but this was like $22 and with free shipping. So, and
it's
I
well
will
worth
say
that.
Shipping alone is more than $22.
I did also
Or it would
order
be.
something else that showed up broken, and they gave me full credit for it immediately. So, but like I said, it's cool. And again, like I said, I've got a bunch of other phasers, and this isn't one I wanted to spend a ton of money to have represented, because I don't think it's actually even a Starfleet phaser. I think it's more like a kind of commercial model, but it's a cool design, and so that's what I got.
It's the Glock 17.
It's kind of it's kind of like the
4th century.
exactly. It's the yep. So, Dave, what do you got?
Okay. This is actually a biggie.
This is a biggie.
I
I know
turn
what
the
it
light
is,
on.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen.
So my goal of collecting original movie props, which I don't have, I mean, there's maybe a dozen or so around, is one from all of my favorite franchises. I've got a bunch of Star Wars stuff. I have Indiana Jones, the chicken skewers, as we know. I have nothing from Star Wars, because nothing from Star Wars is really touchable. That's even something that, like, I don't even know what that is. It's too much money.
And if I can just
There
jump
was
in for a
something in there-
second, because you just
ahead.
misspoke, and I want to correct you. You said I've got a bunch of Star Wars stuff. What you meant was I've got a bunch of Star Trek
I meant Star
stuff.
Trek.
Yeah.
Sorry, Star Trek.
Yeah, we just do that.
Yeah, I have a bunch of Star Trek stuff, but I had nothing Star Wars. So I did want something Star Wars, like I said, and there's nothing that's touchable. But there was a recent prop store auction, and there's something I had my eye on, and I thought I'd bid on it, and I didn't, because it was probably too much money, and it did not sell. And I'm like, After the auction, you can make deals. So basically, you make an offer, and they go to the consignor, and there was a couple of weeks of back and forth. So I worked out a deal, which I thought I'm very happy with. I'm opening one of the prop store things. It's an original Rebel Trooper vest from the original Star Wars. One of these guys.
Oh, that's
vests.
awesome.
So the Rebel Fleet Troopers in the opening scene when Darth Vader breaks through the wall and comes in and...
It's got a ton of pockets. You can't see. It's black, so you can't see. I'll post pictures. Got a ton of pockets on the back and on the front. And it's like, I was consulting with Barry on it. Like, he's like, look, there's a bunch of them, but there's not like there's thousands of them. There's not a ton of affordable original Star Wars stuff.
My understanding is those went back to a costume house after filming, and they were sort of found and rescued from the costume house. So I don't know how many of those actually survived. I know of a few of them, but there's not. It's not like there's 100 of them out there. There's probably 20 of them.
There's not 100. Prop store sold maybe 6 or 8 of them. I know Gus Lopez has one on display. I know Dave Mindell has one on display. They've gone for $15,000 in some auctions years ago. They're not anywhere near that. But it's like something that I feel is... Look, is anything a lightsaber? No. But with this picture on metal like my... printed on metal
awesome.
like my
that is
thing,
awesome.
and this in a lucite case that I'm going to build...
It's amazing.
I think it's awesome.
mean, you said it. There's all the things you or I would want that are immediately identifiable from Star Wars are untouchable. So the fact that you got something that is in one of the greatest scenes in early in the movie,
literally
scene.
the opening scene on the Tantive,
And the closing scene,
and
the closing scene in the third best Star Wars film. So
yeah. And this picture is like, you just say Rebel Troopers, Star Wars, this picture comes up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's classic.
That's awesome.
It's, it's funny, you don't see these helmets.
No.
Right? I don't know that I've seen them.
Yeah, they
And
put them back.
I-
They
I
put
don't
them
know
back
if
on
I'm
the
supposed to say this.
'70s
I think-
era lamps. They took them from. So
I think there's one surviving helmet like that in the archive, and it's not even
Really?
complete.
But-
yeah.
I mean, they must. I bet they went back and were used as something else. But and the vests are So there's my one and done Star Wars thing, and their Star Wars shit is only going up.
Oh, that's
so,
it's a big deal. I'm so glad you got it.
Yeah, I am too. Thank you. So that's what's in the box.
that is awesome, Dave. I'm really happy.
And now
for
you're
you.
going to build an awesome display for it from Dave's workshop.
From Dave's workshop. Yeah, I'm going to. I do have. I had the Star Trek tunic, and I have the Forbidden Planet in sort of like those jersey cases. One I built, one I bought. But I think part of me is, and we'll talk about this off the air because I got to figure out. Part of me wants it much more seen, so I'm going to put it in an acrylic case. I'm going to build an acrylic case. Part of me was like, I'd like it to have a clear back so you could see the back, but are you really going to pull it off the wall and look at it on the back? I don't know. We'll have to figure out what makes sense. Because the
Acrylic case
engineering
on
of
a
an
pedestal
acrylic...
so you can get all the way around it.
That's not happening. And it's not going on a mannequin.
I have that torso mannequin. It's up for grabs. So
Gus Lopez has it with the blue shirt.
yeah,
So, not happening. No. Sorry. I'm at my mannequin limit, and fine. But I like the idea of it on the wall, and I know exactly where I'm going to. Well, where you come down the stairs, and I've got the signed Leia and Luke picture with like of Jerry Vanderstelt.
Yeah.
That's going. The vest goes there with a big metal photo.
That's going to be awesome.
I think that's perfect for it. Anyway, so that's what's in the box. Okay, so what do we talk about? Well, go see something in a local theater near you. Check one out. You probably have one. Check out FromDavesWorkshop.com. Follow From Dave's Workshop on Instagram and Facebook. I appreciate it. And if you got a project, reach out to me. Let's do it. I've got good references. I think I actually do. But thank you, Barry. There'll be pictures up.
Yep,
from
I will post
everything
pictures
we
this
talked
weekend.
about. Yeah. Cool.
And while you're
And-
there, and if when you're looking at the pictures, make sure that you like our Facebook and Instagram account. And while you're thinking about it, maybe leave us a review on
There you
your
go. Do
podcast
that.
app of choice. We haven't asked about that in a while, but it does help us. So if you've got a minute and you like the show and you haven't reviewed it, or you haven't reviewed it in a while, please do.
There you go. Things coming up, and we never say this, we're going to a very special location soon. Not Skywalker Ranch, but probably the second happiest place in Nerd Kingdom.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And we'll probably do a show or two from there. So more about that later. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
thanks for listening.